All right, guys. So Nancy Pelosi has unsurprisingly came out and tried to play the blame game. Okay. And, a lot of new administrations do this where, they try to blame the last administrations for the failures of their administration or the policies that their current administration has implemented that obviously are failing. Now, with most policies, it takes time to really see the effects, right? But with this immigration stuff and Biden's policies on immigration, right, it took no time to see the effect, because the difference between Biden and Trump is that Trump's like, listen, I'm not incentivizing y'all to come here, okay? I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do, right, to disincentivize people from coming here, right? You're gonna have a hard time getting here because Trump went and enlisted the Mexican National Guard. He's worked with some of those South American countries to try to reduce illegal immigration. And he said, listen, if you make it through Mexico, guess what? You're gonna hit a big wall. You're gonna hit a wall. You're gonna have troops at the border. You're gonna have great resistance, okay? And those of you who try to file paperwork to get in, guess what? We're going to make it harder for you to do that too. Okay? And if you happen to get in, we're not giving you no benefits. We're not giving you no benefits. And we still might end up sending you back. Right? I'm just saying, that's what Trump's policy was in a nutshell. At all levels, he tried to disincentivize immigrants from coming here, because even in the best case scenario, even if you get in, it ain't gonna be easy living here, right? That was Trump's policy. That's what he wanted to do. That prevented people from coming in the first place. Now, whether or not you think it's right or wrong, whether or not you think it's moral, that's what the intention was, to prevent people from coming in the first place. Now, Biden did basically a 180 on that, okay? And Biden has incentivized people to come here because he said that he's ending Trump's cruel policies, ending them, getting rid of them, right? And Biden's more open border policies, right, combined with his promise to grant amnesty to illegal immigrants, people like, hey, we might as well show up at the border again. Let's go. It's a fiesta at the border, right? And lo and behold, that's what happened, which is why we have this crisis. However, Nancy Pelosi is going to play a blame game, and she's going to find a way to blame Trump for this situation, unsurprisingly. So let's take a listen at what she has to say.
Let's talk about the situation at the border. We've seen a huge surge in migrants crossing the border since January. The number of children in custody higher than its 2019 peak during the Trump administration. Your colleague Veronica Escobar of Texas called the conditions there unacceptable. She was there on Friday. Is she right? What more must be done?
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear who you said.
Veronica Escobar.
Veronica Escobar, our colleague from representing El Paso, and yes, it is. Actually, the facts are these: there are more children, about 600-700 more children, unaccompanied children, coming over the border. This is a humanitarian challenge to all of us. What the administration has inherited is a broken system at the border, and they are working to correct that in the children's interest. I'm so pleased that the president, as a temporary measure, has sent FEMA to the border in order to help facilitate the children going from 72-hour issue into where they are cared for as they are transferred into family homes or homes that are safe for them to be. So this, again, is a transition for what was wrong before to what is right. Of course, we have to also look to Central America and Mexico and the rest. The corruption, the violence, all of that so bad. My most recent trip to the Northern Triangle, that would be Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, you saw the impact of the climate change, mind you. These people were leaving because of the drought. They couldn't farm, and they were seeking other ways to survive. So there are many reasons that go into this, but the fact is we have to deal with it at the border. And some of the people coming there are seeking asylum. And I always like to quote our friends in the evangelical movement. At one of our rump hearings we had before we had the majority, the representative said to us, the United States Refugee Resettlement Program is the crown jewel of American humanitarianism. So we have certain responsibilities that we must honor. We have to have a system that accommodates that, and that is what the Biden administration is in the process of doing.
So you heard it first, right? You heard it out of the horse's mouth. She blamed Trump, and then she blamed the governments of Central America, right? And then she blamed climate change. And then she tried to basically pull the religion card here, right? The morality card, talking about evangelicals and all that stuff. So she pulled every trick out of the book. And, I mean, this is why she's leader of the Democrat Party, right? Because she's a finesser, right? She's a finesser with the word. She blamed everybody except the Biden administration. Everybody except the Biden administration. Even though the Biden administration told these people to come here, he incentivized them to come here. That is the difference. Okay? Because otherwise, whatever the situation was in their country, right? Whether it's climate change, whether it's, corruption in the government, Trump incentivized them to stay there and deal with it, right? To stay there and deal with it. Okay? We cannot accept everybody. I understand the morality argument. I 100% understand it. I get it. I'm not saying that, we shouldn't let some people in, but we just can't be encouraging people to show up to the border and come in illegally. We don't know where they're from. We don't know who they are. We don't know their history. We know nothing about these people. We got to protect the American people first. And especially, again, using the Democrat framing here, during this pandemic, right? When we're trying to open up, okay? We can't have people from these other countries coming here. We don't know what they have. They haven't been tested. Some of them have been tested. Some have been tested positive, and they still release them into the country, right? That's not responsible policy, right? On the immigration front or on the pandemic front. Not responsible policy, okay? And again, it's a shame that the Democrats, instead of owning up to the fact that Joe Biden incentivized these people to come here, he told them to come here, that's why they're here, she just goes and blames Trump, when Trump's policies basically prevented these people from coming in the first place, right? So you didn't inherit a broken system. You was inheriting a system that was on the way to being fixed. That's what you inherited. And then you broke it again. That's what you did. Okay? Because we know why they're here, right? We know. Because the migrants at the Mexican border thought that they get easier entry because, quote, Biden promised us, right? So let's read here. Mexico continues to struggle with the sharply rising number of migrants turned away at the U.S. border, with many claiming they were promised by President Biden that they would enter the country. The increased focus on the border situation has brought journalists to Texas, where the problem is most severe. Migrant camps litter the border with camps of dozens or hundreds of people who are either waiting to enter the U.S. or were just turned back. New York Times reporters witnessed a number of incidents where migrants were turned away from the border. Most were in tears, with some saying Biden promised us as they returned to Mexico. Quote, Biden promised us that everything was going to change. Gladys Anita Perez Cruz, a woman traveling with her son, told the Times he hasn't done it yet, but he is going to be a good president for migrants. Cruz paid $9,000, 9 G's, to a coyote for her trip. These people are paying their life savings because Biden told them to show up to the border. Okay? That's what's happening. Right? Y'all think these people would pay $9,000 to come here if they didn't think Biden was letting them in? Again, the Democrats have created an illegal market. They've created a market for coyotes, for gangs, for cartels, to promise people the world. We're going to get you into America because Biden said so. That's what they've done. And that's why all these kids are showing up. And people want to get mad at Trump because Trump is being like, listen, I'm disincentivizing all of it. taking care of all this. Even if you get here, you ain't gonna be that much better off than the country it came from, right? And people want to blame Trump as a bad person because he's protecting the border, because he's trying to protect American jobs, right? And the liberals might be like, well, immigrants take, jobs that Americans don't want to work. Well, that's the problem. That's the problem. We need Americans to be working these jobs, okay? They might not want to work them, but they need to work them, right? Need to get out there and work them jobs. We can't have people sitting around, not doing nothing, collecting welfare and government handouts when we got plenty of jobs for them to do, right? We got plenty of jobs for them to do. So I don't buy that liberal argument because people got to work. If you don't work, you don't eat. It is what it is. Another migrant, Jetner, believed that his life would change 180 degrees because he was about to walk across the border, but he was ultimately turned around. But he was also immediately turned around. Boy thought he made it. Boy, he thought he made it. The combination of the coronavirus pandemic and natural disasters, including multiple hurricanes and earthquakes across Central America, has driven people from their homes in hopes of entering the U.S. Coyotes, human smugglers, have preyed on that desperation and taken advantage of migrants, offering them promises of entering the country under Biden's presidency. Customs and Border Protection officers have encountered 100,000 migrants at the border in February alone, highlighting how overwhelming the situation has become. The vast majority of migrants, around 70%, according to one source, are expelled via public health order, Title 42, that allows authorities to quickly return migrants to their country of travel. Only 70%, that should be 95, 99%. 70% is way too low, right? That's too low. That ain't no accomplishment. Acting CBP Commissioner Troy Miller said on a call with reporters that the administration is, quote, moving as fast as we can to rebuild the immigration system, but warned this is going to take time. It was built when Trump was there, right? Keeping people out. The border is not open. Do not believe human smugglers who tell you otherwise, he said. But coyotes and cartel alike continue to promise migrants that the U.S. is open under Biden, seizing on the more immigrant-friendly policy changes that the president has undertaken. The administration has already ended the migrant protection protocols, which kept migrants south of the border while waiting for their hearings and their U.S. immigration and customs enforcement policies for arrests and deportations. Yeah, as you guys can see, the Biden administration's border policy is a disaster, and Nancy Pelosi is blaming it on Trump. She's playing the blame game, right, with this. You don't want to take any responsibility for it. Typical Democrat move. Now, guys, I just want to make it clear, right? Like, I have nothing against Hispanic people. I love Hispanic people. Okay, I got Hispanic friends. My friend group look like the United Nations. Okay, I'm very open, right? With diversity ideas, diversity of color, all that, right? But people gotta come here legally, and that doesn't just apply to Hispanics. That applies to everybody across the globe. You gotta come here legally, right? We want the best and we want the brightest, right? And also the downtrodden as well, but they have to come legally. Right? Legally. Right? And people think conservatives are bad people, right? Because of this. We're not bad people. We just want to make sure that we're getting law-abiding, responsible immigrants here that are going to contribute to our society in a positive way. It's really not that hard to understand, guys. It's really not that hard to understand. Right? I get the economic arguments for illegal immigration. I get the humanitarian arguments. I get all those arguments. But that is no excuse for properly vetting and going through the legal process. It's no excuse. That's all we want, right? We need strong incentives to prevent people from just bum rushing the border, thinking that they're just going to get in here and get citizenship status that Biden has promised. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.